Good afternoon, my friends. It's Krebs here, and today we're going to be playing a little bit of World of Tanks. How are you guys getting along? Krebsy is doing just dandy. If anything, I want to say to you guys, just kick back and relax, because I've got a lot of history, numbers, and gameplay to throw at you guys, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy these episodes. I honestly don't know how you can not enjoy them, because, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in it. I do put a lot of effort into them. But anyway, so what are you going to be offering to us today, Krebs? Well, as we have been following in the last few episodes, we're going to be leveling up the Chinese tanks and just see how each one is as they go, and yeah, spewing numbers, gameplay, whatever else. Last episode we were taking a look at the Vickers Mark E Type B. In this episode it's going to be the Tier 3 light Chinese tank, the Type 2597 Chi-Ha. If there's something that you can say about low tier Chinese tanks, a lot of them are imported from other countries. None of them are actually based off of their own indigenous designs. They don't actually have that until later on in the tech tree. For example, if you take a look at the Tier 1 Renault, that's going to be a French tank. The Vickers, a British tank. Type 2597, not a Chinese tank, it's actually a Japanese tank. How did a Japanese tank get in the Chinese tree? Well, I have one of two theories. One being either Wargaming is trying to cater towards the general Asian market, maybe they're going to be expanding Japanese tanks later on, or perhaps it's a Chinese captured Japanese tank. Did I say that right? I hope I said that right. Chinese captured Japanese tank, because a few of these were actually captured when the Japanese landed on mainland China and were engaging and skirmishing. A number of these were actually captured, so I guess that's probably the most logical presumption of why the Chinese have a Japanese tank just stuffed into their tech tree. At least that's what I think anyway. Alright, so let's talk about some actual history and why this thing is called the Type 2597 Chi-Ha. Type 2597, that's based off of the imperial calendar for the Japanese, originally produced by Mitsubishi. At the time, it was the imperial year 2597. They go by a different calendar over in Japan. I mean, they do go by the Gregorian calendar, but they also have an imperial calendar as well, 2597. Chi-Ha stands for two different things. Chi stands for medium tank, and the Ha stands for Model 3. If you ask me, that's kind of interesting. Chi is a medium tank, then why the hell is this a light tank? Shouldn't that be a medium tank? Is that some sort of balance issues or things overlooked? I have no idea. Maybe it's just because it's a light tank? Maybe it'll be changed in the future, you never know. But that is why it's called that. So let's see. It was originally created in the late 1930s by the Japanese army because they wanted to produce a tank that would be modern and be able to sufficiently take on allied light tanks should they actually go into a war, which obviously they did go into a war. And was it effective? Well, I think this is where the next point comes up. In the other episodes, we always like to compare our tanks to other tanks when I'm spewing out data at you guys. And I'll sort of think to myself, what tank am I going to compare this to? Because if I look in the tech tree, it's not like there's any direct comparisons of this. Oh, fuck's sake. Go back. There we go. It's not like there's any direct comparisons of this one to any tank. In fact, this tank fits many different roles. And so I was reading up a little bit of history, and actually one of the best tanks we could actually compare it to is probably the BT-7 for the USSR. It's a Tier 3 light tank. And historically speaking, when the Japanese were taking on the Russians over on the Soviet Union front, they were actually taking on these BT-2s and BT-7s. And what happened with the Chi-Ha was that it was absolutely crap against the BT-7s. The BT-7s and BT-2 had this cannon over here equipped with it, the 45mm over here. Okay, it wasn't as big as, it's a 45mm. It wasn't as big as the 57mm that the Chi-Ha had. Yep, 57. It wasn't as big as the 57mm that the Chi-Ha had, but it had a longer range. The 57mm for the Chi-Ha actually had such a low velocity on it that it couldn't actually shoot tanks at a far distance, and so it fell short a lot of times. And so a lot of Chi-Has, a great number of them, were actually destroyed by BT-7s and BT-2s simply due to range. And so what the Japanese had to come up with is a new design, and they, just based off of that that battle alone, those battles against the BT2s and BT7s. And what they later came up with was the 47mm gun, which you get later on over here, as you can see the progression. And they got the 47mm gun, allowing them to have a larger velocity and so a longer range, and then it could start combating the tank. So it was a big improvement, and that's when the tank started to get to be known as the Type 2597 Kai Shinoto Chiha. So really, this Chiha over here is probably two tanks just combined into one actual research tree. The earlier development with the crappier modules, and then the later development with the more improved cannons and such on it. So quite interesting that it's actually like that. Always nice to find out these little statistics and facts. But yeah, so what we'll be doing is comparing the Chiha to the BT7. So let's go ahead and actually compare some values. Krebs is about to be spewing some values at you, some numbers. So get your number crunching brain on, I guess. It's good, it's good. Honestly, one of the best ways of comparing these tanks is just using factual statistics. So alright, so here we go. Let's get this started with. All these values are going to be using the top modules for both tanks, for the Chiha and the BT7. So the Chiha has 240 HP. You can see this along the side over here as well. It has 240 HP, whereas the BT7 has 220. Has a signal range of 700 meters, whereas the BT7 falls short with 615 meters. Still not terrible, but it has quite a good signal range for this tank. You have to unlock that with the Type 3 Otsu over here. Quite an expensive module to unlock. 4,000 experience for a Tier 3 tank is quite a lot, especially when one little radio is more than a freaking tank. That's interesting. Speed limit on here is 40 kilometers per hour. BT7 known to be quite a speedy Gonzalez, 66 kilometers per hour on that thing. This thing is a little bit beefier, 15.99 tons, whereas the BT7 14.3 tons. This has 4 crew members: commander, gunner, driver, and radio operator. The commander doesn't actually double up as anything. There's enough guys to be doing everything. Whereas in the BT7 it has 3 members: the commander, which doubles up as radio operator. You have the driver and also the gunner. Armor wise, well, the thing with a lot of these lower tier tanks, they have shit armor no matter what. You can just see along here. You got 25 millimeters on the front, side, and 20 millimeters on the back. You can see an actual picture in front of you showing you where the heaviest portions of the armor is. So, you know, it might show up red and it looks quite thick, but, you know, it's 25 millimeters. A lot of tanks at this tier, especially with the higher tier weapons, are going to be able to penetrate, you know, the same tier tanks no matter what, even from the front. Only thing you have to be a little bit careful with is that there's a bit of a slope when you're engaging this tank from the front, so you may actually ding off depending how much penetration you have on your cannon. It is possible nonetheless. Turret armor 25 millimeters all the way around. BT7, it's a speedy tank, so it actually falls short with a lot of its armor. It has 20 millimeters on the front, 15 on the side, 13 on the back. You know, there's probably no point of actually spewing out the exact values about what the BT7 is like. Just know that it has less armor than this thing. It has very weak armor, the BT7 in fact. It's supposed to use its agility, if anything. So this tank is a tank that fits into, I don't know, quite a number of roles. You could say that's a medium tank, you could say that's a scout tank, so many different things. But then again, it's kind of a bit of a shit scout. It has, you know, 40 kilometers per hour, which is decent enough, but it doesn't have the best of engine powers. 240 horsepower, you know, that's kind of trash compared to the 480 with the BT7. But it's not meant to be like a scout, you know, speeding about. It has a very big signal range and such. Has a decently large view range as well. But, you know, it's not meant to be going around as fast as possible. Traverse speed 32 degrees per second, whereas the BT7 has 50. If you're probably getting a sense of what it's like now. Just this one is a bit heavier, a bit clunkier, the BT7 being more agile. So as we were saying, view range 330, 280 on the BT7. Turret traverse is 46 degrees per second on both tanks. And damage-wise, this tank is actually more superior than the BT-7. Again, it has a bigger cannon, especially the one that's more improved, the 47mm gun. The one that comes later in the development, as we were saying earlier. It has 70 HP. This is going to be the armor-piercing rounds that we're talking about. It has 70 HP per shell. Has penetration of 81mm, which is pretty damn decent. You can actually start taking on certain tier 5s with that cannon. Whereas the BT-7, 40 HP per round and 58mm per round penetration. So with the BT-7, you have to be actually literally like getting around your enemy to try and take them on. Whereas this is just generally powerful in terms of damage and penetration all around. Rate of fire though, 20 rounds per minute on here, 28.5 on the BT-7. So the BT-7 is obviously going to be firing faster, but still, despite that, you're going to have generally higher damage per minute on this tank. 1,400 HP per minute, 1,142 on the BT-7. Apart from that, camo values, BT-7 has better camo values, slightly. It's not that important. I mean, usually you can just hide behind bushes with the low tier tanks anyway, and you'll be fine no matter what, because they don't have large silhouettes. I mean, it's not like you're in a freaking E100, right? So anyway, guys, that is the statistics of the tanks. Now what we'll do is we'll jump on into a game. Alright, here we go. We got a game. This is literally the last match I played. It's a pre-recorded match, but it's the last match I played just before actually making this video. And it's actually pretty decent. I'm going out on Prokhorovka in my Chiha. And what am I doing right now? Well, I'm thinking to myself, probably go down along the left-hand side. When you're in a medium light tank, and especially one like this, where you're a light tank but you're not even that fast, it's recommended that you go down along the right-hand side of the map, or down along the middle, but not along the actual big road on the left-hand side of the map, because that is usually more dictated towards tank destroyers and people with camouflage, good camouflage values, people who are more stationary. I mean, technically I could go there and just, camp a little bit, but, I want to be a bit more useful, leave the tank destroyers to that side, maybe they can kill whoever's going to be coming on up there. And so usually, maybe if you got a speeder tank like a scout, it'd be a bit of a better idea to go along that way so you can scout out for your tank destroyers up ahead. But me, a lot of times I actually go down along that side, and I might be with a whole column of teammates, and they'll just get massacred because, they'll be out in their medium, heavy tanks, they'll be going down that way, moving up slowly as a column, and they'll just end up getting destroyed. All of them. It's one after the other, one gets spotted, the next gets spotted, and then it's just a massacre of sorts. So anyway, I'm going to be going over here, playing a little bit conservatively, hiding in the bushes initially, because usually sometimes when you're in these lower tier puppy matches, people will tend to be a bit bold and risky, and what I'm trying to say is a bit newbie. They'll actually just head straight on as fast as they possibly can, down along one side, and it just makes for easy kills. So if you're hiding in the bushes like that, you can easily just snipe off a few people, and it's no problem. I believe this gun actually has a 0.44 range accuracy. I didn't actually mention that in the statistics, but it has 0.44, and that makes it better than the Vickers, the tier 2 one, but still pretty damn awful. Here we go, we got a tank coming straight on down, so exactly what I'm talking about, some rusher. Only bad thing is he's going to be a little bit hard to kill because, I don't have the accuracy and he's got the speed. So it's going to be a little bit difficult. And shooting on over. But I think he must have went the wrong way. I have absolutely no idea what he's doing. Usually a scout who's going so speedily like that would try to go for your artillery. But you just completely ignored the artillery. Look in the bottom right hand corner where the map is. You can see that the artillery is just hiding directly behind me. A little bit up the road. And so he just ran into the lion's den where all those tank destroyers were on the road. So yeah, he got massacred. Kind of funny to see that. So it's all a sniping fest at the moment, just moving on up slowly. precautiously. Don't want to move up too fast, because the thing is, you don't know exactly how many guys are going to be beyond there. It's going to become a little more clear now, because we've got teammates on the right hand side of the map who are actually getting up and over the hill and actually down the way, like actually past the hill now. And so if they haven't seen anything, then chances are there's going to be nothing there, and so that's why I'm actually just moving on up now. But despite that, you still got tanks coming out at you from literally nowhere. Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing, you light tank? He should be using his agility to try and get around me. I think that's what he's trying to do, but see, it's all about being smart. Yeah, you can just pivot on your axes, you know, just turn and that'll be enough. But what I'm actually doing there is combining both pivoting, like turning around, and then also backing up as well, because just backing up a little bit gives you a little bit more of an advantage, a bit more distance than it would normally if you're just turning around. I'm moving my turret around at the same time, of course, right? Uh-oh, base is being captured. We've got 2 tanks, unfortunately, around here. I decided to come through the middle rather than the backhand side, because if I came along the back, chances are there might be enemies already pointing that direction. And plus, you have to come over the hill of doom. It's like literally a hill of doom. Like, if you come over there, chances are you're going to get massacred instantly. Plus, it's a little bit of distance to go that way, so I was figuring I'll come around the, swing around the middle and then towards the base. But unfortunately, seeing 2 enemies along the middle, so it'd be kind of daft for me to just go straight in for the base defense with 2 enemies behind me shooting at me. So teaching that Chiha to take some cover, get the hell on out of my way. And now here we go, base defense coming on up. Luckily we've got some tanks nearby who are helping defend as well. So good that there's some people with map awareness. Yeah, it's no rocket science, is it? To actually look at your map, it's good to see it. And sometimes not even looking at the map. Sometimes people will see that there's a countdown at the very top and you hear the whole sirens, the ooh, and they'll still completely ignore it. They'll still think, oh, it's okay, we can outcap them, even though you might have like only 1 guy going in for the cap. Yeah. Anyway, good situational awareness, and this is all coming down to a base defense now. Points have been reset. We are capturing their base. Happy days, happy days. That's another guy down. All I'm doing is exposing my turret at the moment. As you can see, I'm backing off a little bit and just trying to give myself enough elevation so I can actually see the enemies, but they'll have the minimal amount of area that they can hit me. And there we go! Easy stuff! Getting a first class mastery badge. Nice. Makes me happy to actually see that. Am I going to click on detailed report team score? No, god damn it, Krebs. If only I could go back into the past and go take a look at that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and until next time, I believe we'll be taking a look at the Stewart next. Until next time, I will catch you all later.
Right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.